Well, Staunch, let's try this again. It's been a long week, man. So let's get it right. It is Friday. I kept saying Saturday night. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anyways, anyways, I digress. So I got two cocktails to have with you on this Friday night. Let me adjust this real quick. Bear with me. Then you will have my undivided attention. I promise. There we go. That looks all right. All right, guys, how the heck are you? I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, at least for the purposes of this video. What I've got here is more or less a classic Manhattan. The only adjustment I made, in all honesty, is the bitters. But it is, for all intents and purposes, a classic Manhattan. And here's what I've used for this particular cocktail is I use some rye. A rye is typically used for Manhattan, although I've been known to use a bourbon. But if I'm using a bourbon, I will always use a traditional bourbon that uses rye as a secondary. And in most cases, you'll see me use a high rye bourbon. But here I am using a barrel proof rye. This one's at 108. So I like that number. I like 108. A lot of barrel proof go 118 to 130, anywhere in that range. But if you distill at a lower proof, you get a cleaner product. And that's what they've done here at Four Fingers Distillery. This rye whiskey is just insane. Distillers Select, although, so they've recently had a name change. So they do say distilled and bottled at 1205 Distillery in Indianapolis. But now the name is Four Fingers. So there you go. I want to show that to you. I'm going to show you the sweet vermouth that I've used. And again, the change, rather than using a traditional Angostura bitters, I decided to use black walnut bitters, kind of make it a fall, bring it straight into the fall. So there we go. And here's what I got here. Using this interesting glass my wife had found at a thrift store. I had to ask, so it does look like a coupe, and it is. But I had to ask my friend, the Beer Samurai, who's kind of my glassware expert, if it had another name because of the hollow stem. He said, no, it's just a hollow stem coupe. But I've never seen the hollow stem before, and I really like it, man. Just like the looks of the glass. Anyway, let's launch it. Uh, It is late. It is late, so I don't expect anybody to join me. I did put a couple feelers out there. Some friends had told me that if they're awake, they would like to get involved, but obviously they're not. But if you are awake and you like to jump in, let me know, and I will send you the link. But I do have two cocktails prepared, so I'm going to drink both of them with you. The first one being this. Manhattan. Manhattan is my favorite cocktail. I have come to find an appreciation for the old fashioned, even though it probably is the more popular of the classic cocktails these days. And I think a lot of that's the sweetness. A lot of folks don't like that sweet vermouth. And I admit it does take some getting used to, but I like the idea. And I've kind of done some plays on that. And that's where the next cocktail will come into play. Is I've kind of taken the idea of the Manhattan, but taken it in a slightly different direction. But I do like the classic cocktails. I do like a maximum of 4 ingredients. I think a lot of nouveau bartenders tend to make things more complicated than they need to be. We got to add this, we got to add that, we need this reduction, we do that, we got to puree that and then add it here, but only at this time. And I think, man, a great cocktail doesn't need to be that complicated. Classic cocktails are classic for a reason. A Manhattan, an original old fashioned. a martini. They don't need a lot of ingredients. They don't need a lot of difficult prep time. Just do it. You don't need 30 liqueurs and 10 fruit juices to make a decent cocktail, man. I don't know why. It just seems like folks want to make things more complicated than they need to be. I see that a lot too with nouveau chefs. Now, I'm not a chef. I'm not going to claim to be. I'm just a guy that likes to cook. I grew up doing a lot of cooking. My dad was a chef. I don't think he was classically trained, but he worked at enough restaurants to be a chef. And I do enjoy cooking, and I do enjoy some techniques. I know that that's where I'm lacking. That's why I would never call myself a chef, because there are just techniques I don't know. But there are some things I do know that I think a lot of chefs, especially younger chefs, just don't seem to understand. Is you don't need to make things more complicated than they need to be. A lot of folks add a lot of ingredients that don't need to be there because they want to add a lot of ingredients. And quite frankly, the best classic dishes are very simple, and they're classic for a reason. And I feel the same way about cocktails. Again, don't make things more complicated than they need to be. Fuck monkeys. It's a long day, man. I'm tired. It was a long ass day at work. I set up a video. I put Saturday instead of Friday. So then once it was pointed out to me, my OCD wouldn't let it rest. So I had to delete the video and start all over again. And here we are. I do love I've, I've said in so many videos now that your cocktail is only as good as the ingredients you put in it. Meaning that I'm using a great rye. If I use a subpar sweet vermouth, well, then I'm not helping my cocktail. So I did spend a little bit more to get a decent sweet vermouth. I will never go top of the line on sweet vermouth. I don't know that I'll know the difference, but yeah, I try to go in the middle there, get a nice quality sweet vermouth. This is probably the best quality sweet vermouth I've ever purchased. But I knew I was using a top quality rye. I bought a lot of products on vacation, and of all the products I picked out, all the products I bought, they were all small distillery products. The one thing that irritates me about whiskey guys is that there is some crossover between craft beer geek and whiskey guys, and the craft beer geeks will always buy small. We will always go to that small craft brewery. But when it comes to whiskey, they seem to forget that. And everything becomes about these specific name brand stuff. And I just don't buy it. I mean, these small distilleries are doing some great products. It's time we give them some love. So I did buy quite a bit out. I picked up 17 bottles, but it was all small distillery product. Starting with, well, actually, the first distillery I bought from was Hotel Tango, but I'm not using that one quite yet because I bought their 10-year-old anniversary bourbon. So I'm going to wait for a special occasion to open that. I did buy two products though, but the second distillery was Four Fingers. I bought two products from them. One of them I'm not going to open yet because it's their single malt, American single malt, I should say. But I really want to try this rye, and I got to tell you, this rye is insane. Now I did have it at the distillery. I did have a flight. There was one of the reasons I bought this product. But having it in a flight is different than having it at home where you can really taste the product. You do have the powers that be that want to convince you, if you're starting to get into bourbon or whiskey, that you need certain things in your repertoire, and you don't. You don't need these products. Think out of the box. If you're, especially if you're a craft beer guy and you're always buying small, think the same way when it comes to whiskey. Go to those small distilleries, buy products from them because they're better. They're just better. I mean, there's certain allocated products that don't deserve to be allocated. You've got $25 bourbons selling for 50, and it just doesn't make any logical sense. So yes, I will always buy. I will occasionally buy larger names. Again, occasionally for specific reasons, but anytime I'm traveling, I will buy. I will visit these small distilleries when I can, but if I can't, I will find their products somewhere else. And that's what I did this particular trip. Is I bought a lot of small distillery products. Hard Truth, for instance, I bought a few products from them. I didn't visit their distillery, but who knows? But however, you don't need a button. However, but the point being, so we went to Indianapolis, the Garage Food Hall. They have a Hard Truth bar that sells their products. So I didn't hit the distillery per se, but I was somewhere with it that did have those products. So that's why I picked them up, and it's where I picked them up. They were good. The products are very good, man. These are interesting glasses, aren't they? I like it. I've never seen that hollow stem before. That's why I didn't know if they had a different name. That's why I asked my friend, the Beer Samurai. He just said it's a hollow stem coupe. So, nevertheless, something in there, though. Which are the perfect glass for a Manhattan. You can also use them for a martini if you don't want that bizarre wide brim glass, so you know you're going to spill all over yourself. And you can do them for other cocktails. Being in the fall through winter, I do enjoy an old fashioned from time to time. However, from here until probably next spring, you're going to see me serve it a little different. I do tend to like a straight up cocktail, so I'm going to have something that resembles an old fashioned, but I'm going to serve it this way instead of that big ice cube. And for those of you that think that big ice cube is traditional, if you look up very original recipes for an old fashioned, it is served just like a Manhattan. That ice cube kind of came later, man, and that's how folks today like the drink, but it's not necessarily traditional. So I've always preferred a straight up cocktail. This summer I don't necessarily mind that big cube, but even if I'm having an old fashioned, I do prefer it served just like this. So, anyways, I've got that other one. I'm going to finish this up because I want to get to that one for you. Got to empty the stem now. Got to empty the stem now. Anyway, bear with me. I got to jump off camera real quick to grab that cocktail. I'll be right back. Okay, so here's what I did with this one, folks. Again, the idea or the idea was, you know, start with the concept of a Manhattan, but I kind of changed some things up a little bit. So here's what I did with this particular cocktail: is I used the Watershed Distillery straight bourbon whiskey. This is their 4-year-old at 90 proof. That's finished in apple brandy barrels. So I've used 2 ounces of this, and I've eliminated the sweet vermouth, but here somewhere. But I added the Laird straight apple brandy bottled in bond. So I used some Applejack or apple brandy. So I got 2 ounces of apple brandy finished bourbon with 2 ounces of that bourbon, 1 ounce of the Applejack or apple brandy. And then I debated about putting bitters in it. And at the end, I decided to go ahead and I used black walnut bitters to kind of give it a fall appeal. And the garnish. So here's what I did with the garnish. Keeping in mind, this is a hollow stem. See what I did there? I got clever, right? I got a cinnamon stick straw. No, I'm not going to use it as a straw, but that was kind of the idea. I wanted to see if it fit in there. It wouldn't go quite to the bottom. Well, and that's kind of the problem is that as that cinnamon stick gets wet, it kind of spreads out some. And I could have put a cherry in there if you'd like, but I didn't see a need to. I just wanted to see that cinnamon stick in that stem mostly. Gosh, that's delicious. That really is. Now, younger folks out there might need this a little sweeter. And that's kind of my issue with an old fashioned. That's why I never liked an old fashioned until 2020 when I started having to make them at home. I said, I don't like this cocktail. I don't understand why kids like the cocktail because they're just too damn sweet. But when I started playing around with the ratios and making syrups correctly, in my opinion, I said, okay, I get it now. But yeah, a lot of it is about the sweetness, and I don't like a sweet cocktail. Gosh, that is delicious. The black walnut bears, I'm glad I added those because that kind of gives it adding that slightly nutty note. It also adds to the aromatics as well. The cinnamon stick, what does the cinnamon stick do, Tom? The cinnamon stick also adds to the aromatics, but also the longer that cinnamon stick sits in your cocktail, the more it will impart flavor to the drink. So if it takes a long time to drink it, by the end you'll be tasting a lot of cinnamon. But yeah, but early on, it's. I mean, having that cinnamon stick isn't like putting ground cinnamon. You add ground cinnamon, you're going to feel it right away. Having that cinnamon stick's a little more subtle. Also, I think it's a nice garnish, man. It just looks good, doesn't it? Got that cinnamon stick straw. You could use it as a straw. I'm not gonna, but you could. You could, man. You really could. Uh, this product is good. Watershed, man. Watershed ain't playing. Watershed's doing some great stuff. So I have another product from them. I have other products from them, but one of the products I picked up from them was their Nocino, which is a black walnut liqueur, but they do a barrel aged Nocino, which is wow. It's just insane. So again, I do kind of a Manhattan inspired cocktail, but I'm using the Nocino in place of the sweet vermouth. Good God, that's delicious. I can't believe how easy that is to drink. That's just insane. That's crazy good, man. I don't care who you are. That's delicious right there. That is. Anyway, I digress. I'm gonna take that cinnamon stick out for a second. Let that stem fill up. Man, that cocktail's going to be a keeper. I'm not sure what to call it yet. I got apple brandy finished bourbon. I got some apple brandy. I, I got a cinnamon stick garnish. I got some black walnut bitters. Yeah, there's got to be a clever name in there somewhere. I just don't have it yet. But it does taste really good, man. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. It's really tasty, man. But I am gonna pull that cinnamon stick. I think it's imparting nicely, but it's just easier to drink without that cinnamon stick sticking up through the middle. I just wasn't sure how it was going to work. I had to try it, man. I had to see once. We had to give her a shot, man. Oh, fuck nuggets. It's a long day, man. I'm tired. My old bones were hurting today. I'll tell you what. Someone asked me, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just tired and a lot of pain. You gonna make it?" "Oh yeah, I'll be fine. I'm just old. I'm fat. I should have taken care. I should have taken better care of myself when I was younger." I started laughing. And that's what Gen X. So Gen X kind of gets picked on a little bit for a lot of reasons. And some of it is well, some of it's due. There's no doubt, but every generation should be picked on. And I think that's the difference between Gen X and other generations. Is Gen X will admit we deserve to be picked on a little bit. The other generation's like, oh no, don't pick on us. We don't deserve it. Nobody does self-deprecating humor better than Gen X. Now, of course, that is a bit of a generalization. Not everybody, but most of us. I was talking with somebody, more of a millennial, about that today. He said, "Oh, I can never do that." The thing is, here, of course, I'm just speaking for me. I can't speak for every Gen X, but I think this is why we all are able to do that. Nobody can make fun of us better than we can. Nobody can make fun of us uh, better than we can make fun of ourselves. For instance, if you're trying to hurt me, if you're trying to say something that's going to hurt my feelings, if you're going to be a peckerwort and be an asshole and try to hurt my feelings, you're going to say something, and then I'm going to take that and I'll do 5 minutes on your material. Nobody can make fun of me better than I can. Now, here's why I can't, and here's why I do that. Because the second I take what you say and turn it around and throw it back at you, is I take your power away from you. You're trying to make fun of me. So now you can't make fun of me. I can make fun of me. And here's how I can do that. And I will make a joke out of it. And that makes you look small for trying to say something in the first place. And I think that that's something that the other generations before and after don't get. Uh, Boomers, for instance, tend to get mad about it, whereas millennials get offended by it. You can't make fun of a millennial without them, you know, taking umbrage of some sort. But Gen X is a different animal. We don't care. We've been made fun of our entire lives for a lot of different reasons. And some of it we brought upon ourselves, I will admit. Some of the clothes I wear or wore in the 80s, some of the hairstyles, yeah, I deserve to be made fun of. There's no doubt about it. But I think that's why we are able to do what we do, because we made those decisions, right? We made decisions that other generations did. Other generations kind of fell in line. Boomers, for instance, parents told you how to dress. That's how you dressed. Millennials, I think it's kind of the same way. But Gen X said, "Oh hell no, we ain't gonna do that." That's somebody that grew up during in Southern California in the '80s during that whole hair band explosion. The clothes I wore and my hair, as long as it was, drove my greatest generation dad absolutely freaking nuts. Dad once asked me years later, after we were getting along again, and I had a wife and kids. He said, "Did you do that just to piss me off?" I said, "No, Dad. I wore the clothes I wore and I had my hair long because that's what I like. Pissing you off was just a bonus. I mean, that was the cherry on the sundae, man. That was just a bonus. I liked being who I was. The fact that you hated that empowered me even more." I'm not even sure he really got that. I think he got it later, but I don't know that he got it at that very moment. But that is the big difference between Gen X and any generation, to be honest with you, is you can't hurt our, well, you can hurt our feelings, but we're not going to let you know that. You're gonna, when you say something hurtful, it is going to hurt my feelings, but I'm going to take that and turn it around and throw it back at you. And you're going to feel bad that you said it because you're not going to make fun of me any better than I can make fun of myself. And that's why Gen X is the best at self-deprecating humor. We just perfected it, and that's why you see comics these days, younger comics, they will not do that. But you look back at comics of the '80s, Bill Hicks. Nobody did it better than Bill Hicks. Self-deprecating humor was, I mean, the biggest comedians of that era were the guys that really took that to a whole other level. Uh, Anyways, I digress. It's getting close to midnight. You're tired. I'm tired, and nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares anymore, Tom. So we had a Manhattan. I had a classic Manhattan using Four Fingers barrel proof rye whiskey. This stuff is just amazing. So I took the proof down a little bit for the second cocktail. Uh, but oh my gosh, it's delicious. I used the Watershed. Watershed, man, these guys are great out of Columbus, Ohio. Watershed straight bourbon whiskey finished in apple brandy barrels, uh, blended with straight bourbon whiskey, aged 4 years. This stuff is just insanely good. And then I combined it rather than using sweet vermouth. I used the Laird's Applejack and the bottled and bond Applejack at 100 proof. And then just to take it up just a little bit, just take it up a notch, brother, I used the black walnut bitters. So there you go. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, whiskey evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom and. Oh, I said a mistake back. All around good guy, Slancha. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it.